The Faery Whispering podcast explores guests' encounters with the other world of fairy and ways of connecting with this realm. From listening to messages in owls' hoots, finding a four-leaf clover, chasing rainbows, or inviting a gnome to dinner. I'm Claire Sylvan Wand, a fairy whisperer, researcher, and your guide on this journey. Take my hand and step into the twilit woodland, where they are waiting to meet you. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to the final episode of our three-part mini-series, A Place Like Gnome. My guest, Gem Albrow, and family have witnessed lots of strange phenomena in their home and garden in Sussex. Much of it has been captured on their security cameras. Gem believes that nature spirits are responsible for most of this activity. I visited Gem earlier this year in May to talk with her and investigate her garden. In this episode, we return to Sussex and Gem gives me an update on what happened when she spent the evening in her garden. To accompany this episode, I am releasing a follow-up video chat with Gem about what has happened since I visited her in May. You can watch this on my Faery Whisperer YouTube channel. Sharing is caring. Please subscribe and leave a review too. Thank you. You can support the show by making a one-off donation on my Faery Whisperer Buy Me a Coffee page. This really helps me to keep the podcast going. Thank you. You can read the show notes on my podcast blog, which is at faerywhisperer.co.uk, and that's fairy spelt F-A-E-R-Y. I thought I'd give you a reading from West Sussex Superstitions Lingering in 1868, which was collected by Charlotte Latham at Fittleworth. And she says, "There certainly is very little poetry or romance, generally speaking, in the Sussex folklore, but a belief of fairies and of fairyland is still lingering amongst us. Those singular circles in the grass, known by the name of fairy rings, are still believed to be caused by the feet of the fairies who have danced there in, around, unseen, unheard, and Dr. Wollaston's less romantic theory that they owe their origin to a kind of fungus would find little favour. We still regard the beautiful red-cup moss as the fairies' baths. It is suggested by the same writer that the sharp end of the seed vessel of the needle scandix, called here by the common people the pook needle, may have been regarded as belonging to the fairies. The common name in the west of Sussex for the puffball is Puck's stool. There is an unromantic fairy tale told in our nurseries, the scene of which is laid in West Sussex, how once upon a time two men stole a pig and put it in a sack and laid the sack down upon the ground just over a hole, in which dwelt a fairy who contrived to step into the sack in the form and in the place of the real grunter. The men were to take it in turns to carry the sack, and as one of them was toiling with his heavy load up a steep ascent, he was startled to see a very little figure running close by his side and asking in a melancholy voice, "Dick, Dick, where be you?" And much was his alarm increased when a voice from the sack replied, "I'm in a sack, pick a back, riding up Beading Hill." The frightened men, of course, threw down the sack and ran away, and the good fairy resumed his own form and returned to his home by the pigsty, rejoicing that he had saved the pig from the thieves, it being the property of a man for whom the fairies had a liking. And now on to the episode. Enjoy, and I'll see you over on YouTube for the follow-up chat with Gem. So I'm back with Gem today. We've been to Sussex Faery Festival this morning, and I wanted to come back and finish, sort of round up the chat with Gem, because we set an intention yesterday when I was here yesterday to invite the fairies to show up, and I've come back to speak with Gem to ask her what's happened since I left yesterday and her feelings about it, and anything else she wants to share about the last 24 hours, or anything that you want to speak about that you think, oh, I didn't mention that yesterday. So yeah, do you want to just share what's been going on?
Well, what's making me chuckle a little bit is that you yesterday we did set the intention and ask the fairies to perhaps come out and see us in the evening, but little did we know that they'd already been to see us, because as we were doing our walk around the garden, it wasn't till after you left that I checked the cameras, and they were literally following us around the garden. So there's lots of little flashes that have been picked up on the camera, and I remember I was talking to you about in the bottom right corner of my garden where I see the fairy in the white dress by the cage, and I found it really interesting that on looking back on the video when we were chatting, we were at the top of the garden, not even looking at the bottom right, and there was this long white quick flash, like about 4 or 5 inches in height, looked like it. So that's it didn't look like a fairy, but it was a long white flash. So what else could it be? Who knows? I don't know, but I'll show you the videos. But yeah, they were absolutely following us around the garden, I'm sure of that. So, and then later on in the evening I did my normal checking all the cameras, and we got it was a really interesting huge orb last night that I've not told you about yet. There's just so many, but this one had lots of different faces in it. So it was one huge giant orb, and it went from the ground to the sky, that way. And it had, I'd say, 7 or 8 different faces, and they were all on top of each other. All looked a bit mischievous, and they looked like, we were talking about Brian Froud yesterday. So they looked like those kind of fae, those beings. So not humanoid, a bit like Dobby. They look a bit like that almost. Yeah. So each one a bit different. And they've just got like a cheeky grin as well. So I'll have to get that out and show you that. And then just the usual, the Toblerone worm. He was there. Every night. And what else was there? So there's been different lights in the ivy. So I talked about the 3 or 4 orbs that appeared together. So they would appear at the top of the ivy. There's just 3 or 4 different orbs clustered together, and then they'd shine for about 3 or 4 minutes, then they'd go out, and then after a few moments they'd come back on again, and they'd just sit there and just glow. It's like a yellow glow, it's not white, yellowy orange glow, and then they go out again. So they appeared for a period over about 2 weeks, and it was like most nights that they appeared, but I haven't seen them since. And there's been other orbs that I've seen like that, and then the golden orb with all of the pixie and goblin faces that changed. And then last night I noticed that there was this other golden shape that appeared at the top of the ivy, and that was there the previous night as well. So I've been observing that, and I was thinking, is that a light source from somewhere else? Could it be from another house? So I'm in my room, in my bedroom, and I'm looking at it on the phone, and then I'll look through the window of my bedroom just to see where it is, if I can see it on the ivy. I never can see them. I can't see them. I mean, it's pitch black outside as well. But 2, I'm thinking, could that be the light from the house, like over yonder? I don't think it is, because there's trees in the way, and I would have seen it, previously it would be there all the time. So of course it's not that. But yeah, so that is the new one. So that's the second night, last night, that it appeared. So will it come tonight? Who knows? I don't know. But the shape of it, it's like a jellyman shape, or like a morph. It's like a classic head, and then so you can see it's got a defined head, and then perhaps shoulders and a body. But and it does look like it's blinking as well. It does look like that, but it's quite small and it's quite far away from the camera. So when you zoom in on the camera, it does sometimes go a bit distorted as well. So it's best to zoom out a little bit. But yeah, so I'm keeping an eye on that one. So maybe that'll appear. Yeah. What else do I see last night? What else did I see? Lots of orbs, lots of big orbs that just huge orbs that you can't really. There's no defining face in them or anything, but they're going up into the tree. So it was active last night, but there was nothing like we didn't have a little gnome driving around in a car on the lawn or anything last night. So not yet, but who knows.
And you were talking about, we briefly mentioned yesterday about how now you're starting to keep a track of activity in line with the moon cycles as well. I am. Because that only occurred to me, a couple of weeks ago. I think I mentioned that to you. So it's a new moon. Well, it was a dark moon last night. I think it's a new moon tonight. So you're seeing the first slither of the moon again tonight. So the energy's quite low, isn't it, when it's a new moon? And I do really think that does have an effect. I really do. Because I mean, do you feel like lower energy at the moment? I think I certainly do. Yeah. I mean, this is my first time here, and I feel again in my toes. I think it's to do with the ground here. It's definitely to do with the land. I'm feeling this tingly feeling again in my feet and lower legs.
So does that happen to you when you're, when you're switching your spidey sensors on? Is that? Do you think?
I think. Yeah, because I'm used to connecting with places so much, it's almost like it's just an automatic thing now.
Yeah.
And to me, this place, it feels very active, but maybe it's even more active with the full moon energy. Maybe it ramps up even more.
Yeah.
But there's something definitely in this land that, and maybe it's to do with those energy lines and crystals and a combination of lots of things.
I would agree with you there, absolutely. Yeah, I think so, especially with the energy lines. Yeah. I mean, a few days ago, I can't remember exactly how many, was it 7-10 days ago maybe? I mean, I mentioned to you that sometimes it is just absolutely bonkers, crazy.
Yeah.
So busy out there. And so there are definitely peaks and lows with what activity is going on in the garden. So I will monitor it and see. It must be, it will be able to do with the moon, absolutely.
Yeah.
The moon, where she is in the cycle, definitely.
I think that's why a lot of, I don't know if you've watched Most Haunted, and I know that they do a lot of their investigations on full moon, don't they? And I followed Most Haunted for years.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like one of my favourite.
Yes, I love Yvette.
Paranormal shows. Yeah, she's brilliant. Yeah, and then there's you and the history. There's so much here, isn't there? There's a landscape. It's hard to pin it down to one thing.
Well, I mean, just a stone's throw away. I mean, you mentioned that we've been to the Sussex Fairy Festival, and that is in Alfriston, so ALFRISTON, or Alfriston, and that is a very old English name. So Alf is, in the Old English, it means elf. And Friston means village or town, so it's elf town, elf village, and I think that's fascinating because that's it's 5 minutes away in the car, so that's nothing, is it really?
No.
If elementals are going to travel as well, what's 5 minutes?
Yeah, I'm surprised how close it is.
It's so close, yeah. So it's all the same land. So, the nature spirits in my garden, they're not confined to my garden. They're everywhere. So I only realised that because initially I just thought, they're just coming through the wall and that's the portal, But they're not. They are, I mean, they use that a lot, but I can see they're going into the neighbours' gardens, they're going behind my house, we've got cameras out the front, I've seen a little white figure run across the road at the front.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I've seen the fairy worm, the Toblerone worm, come out of the porch roof of my house as well. So, you know, that it just comes out of the root of the tiles. So,
what do you think those are? Do you think it's a group of spirits or group of fairies travelling together like that, or is it
such a good question? I don't think it's a group. I think it's a solo spirit, and I think that it. Initially, I thought, oh well, you know, humans. There's insects that live in our world, so perhaps it's a fairy insect. But I don't think it's. I think it is a fairy or a nature spirit in its own right, and that's just its appearance. So I think it's it's got consciousness, same as all the other spirits, but that is just how it appears. And I have seen it change form to an orb as well. So it will. Most of the time, 99% of the time, it's in the classic Toblerone shape. It's the only way I can think to describe it, but it's a perfect description for it. And also I mentioned that you get them in different sizes, so you can have them with, the smallest I've seen is with 3 pyramids, and then I've seen them with about 9 or 11 pyramids, so they do vary in size, which I find interesting.
Yes, it's this groups of 3, like 3 is a magical number,
yes,
9, 12,
and 7 as well.
7.
And 7 is my house number.
Oh, yeah. And that's a fairy number.
Is it?
Yeah, it's because there's the fairy star, isn't there? Which is a 7-pointed star.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're when they move around as well, the Toblerones, they're so... They're not as fast as the other beings that I've seen. I mean, some of them are so quick. It's just, even when you slow them down to the absolute minimum that you can on the app, they're still so quick. Some of them are so fast that they're just, all they're leaving is a trail. So you can't even get to see if it's got a face or anything, because it's just so quick. But these worms, they're just very laid back. They just like to meander around. They just go anywhere, they go out the wall, up to the sky, just meander around the tree, through the roof, wherever they want. So yeah, they do feel, you get a sense that they are very laid back and happy and chilled out. That's the thing. That everything that I've seen as well seems to be happy, friendly. There's nothing negative here, which is lovely.
Yeah,
when
nice.
I didn't tell you this one.
Oh, yeah.
When I did first discover that they were here, I did do a walk around the garden and did a bit of banishing, because I said, if there's anything here that's negative, you need to leave. You're not welcome. Only love and light, beings of love and light are welcome to stay. And then I looked back on the camera, as I do, just out of curiosity to see if I could see anything. Excuse me. And from you see in the corner of the decking steps, where the chimney is, literally somewhere around there, this big black oval shaped orb, as I was banishing and said, you will leave my garden, it came out and it was black.
Oh, right. So it's like,
and I went, what is making me cough?
Dark energy. Oh.
Something's making me cough.
Get some water.
Sorry.
I just noticed, Gem, you got that drum. What's that?
Oh, this was Kate's. Yeah. My twin sister. So it's well worn now, because she used to play it when we were 15, 16 at Hob Meadows Farm as well. But that's, check out Joe Hickey Hall's episode if you want to know about that. Yeah. But yeah, so this is Kate's, and I just said, oh, please can I have it, because I want to have a go of it. But I haven't played it because on closer inspection, I think it's got a tiny little hole, and I didn't do it, Kate. And I think if I did start playing it, it would make it worse.
Do you play it with your hand then?
No, I used to be able to play it. So Kate's...
That'll bring them out.
Yeah. So Kate's... I've got the beta somewhere, but I put it away so my daughter doesn't play it, because, I'm trying to... Yeah, it's just... I think it needs a bit of TLC. It needs to go to an expert to have... I don't know. There's beautiful painting, Celtic painting on it as well.
It's lovely, yeah.
So, yeah, but this is a Boron. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a dusty one.
Oh, and you have a little...
You have a beater with it, yeah.
Beater.
Yeah, and you can hit the side with it. But when Kate and I can both sing as well, and both quite musical, and when we were 15, 16 in the 90s, the Corrs were quite popular. So she used to play the tin whistle, and I used to play along with the borin as well. So we could both play the tin whistle, play the flute, and we both played the borin. I'm sorry if that's not how you pronounce it. I'm sure it is, but yeah.
Do you still have a tin whistle?
Sadly not. No.
I was going to say, because fairies love. I was saying, wasn't I, fluty music and that kind of Celtic music.
Yeah, I do sing a lot in here though. So, not so much Celtic songs, but I do, sing anything that pops into my head. Really.
What would you like from anyone listening to this podcast that can relate to your experiences? What would you like from them? Would you want people to connect with you via me, or do you want some, because you're looking for, cause like all of us that are having these experiences, I guess you're searching for some kind of connection and validation and
looking for answers or
answers, yeah.
Well, not necessarily an answer, but yeah, somebody that's had a similar experience. Yeah. If there is anybody that has, I don't know if there is, but I mean, I've googled, you Google or YouTube like real fairy sightings, and there's been a couple, not many. Most of them are made up, but there are a couple where I've seen some winged white, white illuminated creature, and they do look similar. One of them is very similar to something that Kate captured on her camera, my sister actually. But they seem to be like one-off occurrences for those people. I mean, they haven't got like a Instagram page with 150 posts of all the different elementals that they've seen. But I'm happy for anybody that wants to share experiences. I don't think we're never going to find an answer, and I think the answer is that they are, they're there, and they're a being, they're a creation just the same as we are, and they're a soul the same as we are. We're a soul having a human experience in a human body, and they are in a spiritual body, and they are, they're not humans, they are nature spirits, they're elementals, fairies, etc. They're all different as well. Yeah, you can't put anything, you can't put them in a box. I'm just fascinated to learn more about them, and I wonder if they know about humans, and they know it already, all they need to know, or perhaps they're trying to learn what we are. Perhaps they don't know what we are. Maybe. I feel we're all learning together. I mean, the human side of things, we're all learning about who the fairies are, and it's an ongoing process, isn't it? Like you say, maybe we're not supposed to know the whole picture. I don't think we are, actually.
Some things aren't meant to be known, maybe, and maybe they are learning about us. I mean, they definitely seem curious. That's my experience of fairies, that they're curious about us.
I think I would agree, because I have also a capture in the left corner there by the tree of a being about this size that came to look at me, see what I was doing when I was it was about 9 o'clock at night, and it was a couple of months ago, so it was quite dark then, and I was leaning over looking at the log tree stump there, and I saw it just as the footage had ended. I saw it whiz to the tree, and then it stopped, and it was looking at me. So they are curious, definitely. But I mean, yesterday we were walking around, and as I mentioned, there's like several flashes and orbs, and in the daytime on the camera they don't appear as detailed as they do in the nighttime. They're more of like orbs, splodges of grey, white, yellow colours, things like that. But I know what they are.
Yeah, I think perhaps our technology is now. I mean, I'm not a technological guru at all, but it seems like with the Ring cameras, and now I've seen a new phone that's been advertised, I think Samsung, where you can take photographs and there not be any flash showing in the photo.
Or sun glare as well, maybe.
Yeah. And there's all this technology with camera visual things that's improving, and maybe that is now, the light coming in, the increased light coming in, it's now they're starting to show up on our technology now, do you think? Or maybe they're aware of our technology.
I think they're aware of it and they're using it to their advantage. I do think that they want us to know that they are there, because they do manipulate photographs, they do. And I'm positive that they manipulate the camera when they want to. And I've screenshotted things before and then I've gone back to look at them and there's nothing on there, and I think, why did I screenshot that? There's nothing there. And I think, no, I've got a really good eye, If there's a tiny little flash in the bottom right-hand corner that's there for a minuscule second, I will see it, I don't miss it. And I'm quite good at capturing them, screenshotting them, recording them. So there are definitely bits of video where there's nothing in it. And I think, okay, there was something, I know there was, but you obviously don't want me to see you again, so absolutely. So I think they pick and choose. I really do think. They're magical. Yeah. They can do things that we can't do.
I keep seeing things whizzing past the window, but I know yesterday it was a fly, but then it's just so quick, and I'm just like, it's just strange that it's around that area of the ivy.
Inside the cabin yesterday is where I saw the flash inside the cabin.
Right.
And then again, when we were doing our walk around outside, the doors were left open, but you can clearly see on the camera that there's something that's going in and then going out again. So yeah, I think they do like the cabin, definitely. I really do. But they absolutely, they can. They want to be seen. I really do think they do. Yeah. I think they've been trying to make themselves known to me for such a long time, because, go back 2020, my husband's wedding ring. 2019 it went missing, and 2021 is when it reappeared. So it might have been before 2019, it might have been 2018. It was, I think, a good 2.5 years that it went missing. And, within a few days of me saying, please, can we have it back? And I wasn't asking any fairies, I wasn't asking any, just whoever, my guardians or whoever's listening to me, the universe, please help me find this ring. And then it was returned on the decking outside. Yeah. And, half an hour earlier to that, myself, my husband and our 2 children had wheeled our bikes across the lawn, up the steps, over the decking, exactly over the spot where the ring would have been, out the gate, and then down to, round the corner to the car park where they learnt to ride their bikes during lockdown. And then we get back, and I'm the first one to open the gate. About 4 of the decking boards in the centre of the decking board is my husband's ring, and it was as shiny as the last time we'd seen it. So if it had been outside for 2.5 years, it would look weathered, and the gaps in between the decking boards are wider than the ring, so it would have surely slipped down.
Yes.
And also we use the decking, we use that place every day.
Yeah.
Hundreds of times we've been over there before the ring appeared. So I think, did the fairies take his ring and then return it when I asked them to? Around the same time, there was, in my room, I woke up at 3 a.m, and at the end of my bed there's some built-in shelves in the room, and on the very top of the shelf, and not on the actual shelf, but in the space above it, there was a red flash, a red orb that was there. And I looked at it and I thought, am I going to get out of bed and investigate that? No, I'm not. So I just rolled over and went back to sleep. But it's red, and there's nothing up there that would make this red. And it's right in the centre as well, centre of the space, and there's nothing. The way the windows are, the light would have to do a 90-degree right angle to penetrate that.
I believe you, because I've had my own orb experiences, and something really strange and unexplainable. When I was in my 20s, me and my sister went to stay. We were with my dad, and I think I was about 20 years old, and we went to stay in this old cottage that belonged to his friend. Me and my sister were sharing a room. Very old, in Somerset, not far from Glastonbury. It's quite a spooky landscape around there.
It's a magical landscape.
It's magical.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just surrounded by farmland, looks out onto farmland. Pitch black, absolute, no street lights, nothing. I woke up in the night, and at the end of the bed, sort of in front of the wall, there was this little green light.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't round, it was like an oblong shape.
Oh, right.
And I was staring at it, thinking, is that something, is it fluorescent paint? But there's no light to shine on it. There was nothing in the room that it could have been on. And I got to the point where I was like, just looking at it, a bit like you, and I thought, I can't explain this. It's like my brain just couldn't cope. And I pulled the covers over my head because I was scared as well. I was like, and I just went to sleep.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I obsessively looked around that part of the room for anything that light could have been. There was no gap in the door. I mean, there wasn't a light on the landing anyway. There was nothing to explain it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the sense that I got from that red light was that it was something was there. You know, I could feel it, some kind of energy. Like some kind of being or something, but yeah, I thought no, and it was about the size of my little. I use this reference quite a lot, but it was the size of my little pinky fingernail. You know, about that size. But yeah, anyway, so there was that. So this is why I do think that they've possibly been trying to get my attention for a long time. So there was the ring, and then the other thing was January this year. There was the lights in the cabin, which were right above where I'm sat now, but yeah, started off like a bumblebee size, you know, bright white, self-illuminating. That's the thing as well. It was pitch black in here as well, and it was self-illuminating. It had a glitter trail. It got smaller and smaller and smaller, and it was looking around at things on the table. And the way that it moved as well, it was gliding, and then it'd speed up really quickly, and then it'd have a look around over here. Gentle like waves of movement, a little glitter trail behind it, and then it shot out over there, and until it got so small that it just disappeared. So that was that. But you know, I didn't do anything with that. Just told everybody about it. But I mean, the next day I did come in and have a look to see was there a big cobweb dangling down or something. There was nothing that I could see. And then in March there was the pumpkin seeds that we talked about yesterday.
Yes, so, pumpkin seeds. So it's like a building of different things.
So that really did get my attention, and that caused me to, you know, like stay up all night monitoring the camera just to see what it was. And then eventually the first thing that I saw was this white light, and I watched it in amazement, and it was the same white light that was in the cabin, but it was smaller, because when in the cabin it started out as a really big, beautiful, big fat bumblebee size. You know, I love those big bumblebees.
Yeah.
But it was like probably even a little bit bigger. But this one was, you know, a lot smaller. And I watched it, and it moved from the tree stump to the pumpkins, and then it went back again to the tree stump, then it went back to the pumpkins, back to the tree stump, and anyway, so I moved the seeds the next day. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself. And then the next night, it replaced them. So I watched it do it as well. I couldn't see it lifting up the pumpkin seeds, but I could see it going in between the two spots. And I came out in the morning and the pumpkin seeds were back, and I was like, what? And then whilst I was watching that, there was the Pixie King. So I stayed awake in excitement all night. I just kept rewatching what I'd captured, and I thought, I can't believe my eyes.
I'd be the same. I'd be like, what?
Yeah, because all I saw was a flash, and it's only when I slowed it down I could see, you know, it was, I keep calling him a pixie, he got a crown on, that's why I call him the king. So anyway, Dan woke up at about 5:30. He doesn't normally wake up, but I was like, Dan, wake up! Look at this! You know, shoved the phone in his face, and he's like, what the? I was like, I know, it's a fairy.
What does Dan? I mean, he seems very accepting.
We've been together a very long time now, like 15, 16 years. But when he first met me, he was very much like, no, I don't really believe in ghosts, don't believe in any of that. And now he's like, yeah, And also he thinks it's me as well. It's like, it's you, Gemma, you attract them. You know, anything spooky happens, it's like, oh, it's you. But, you know, I told you about the Beltane one, so it was the day after Beltane this year. So May the 2nd, and that evening I was monitoring the camera about 10 p.m, and then all of these, it was like a fireworks sparkler, but, you know, not it didn't go really high into the air, but you know, like perhaps a couple of feet high into the air, but these sparks from behind the garden rattan sofa thing, and I woke him up and said, Dan, you've got to go and check. I think the barbecue might be on fire, because it's on a wooden decking, and last year we didn't have a fire, which because it was you know, underneath the decking you've got leaves and debris and stuff, and a spark from the barbecue. I don't know why he still puts it on there, I have told him, but it dropped in between the slats, and then there was all the smoke coming, so I was a bit paranoid about it, but I knew it wasn't, because it was hours after the barbecue.
Yeah, and it's so bright, and
yes. So he got back in bed, he was like, no, it was just the fairies. And that really made me laugh.
It's going to say, isn't that the same video where there's like a little figure in the distance in the fire, or there's some kind of almost like a little fire elemental?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there is. And then later on, I forgot about that bit. Sorry, there's so many of them.
It's okay.
Yeah, so later on, this is much later on, so this is about 3-4 a.m. So I don't sit there and watch it all night, you know. Perhaps I do like shifts, so I'll probably like go to sleep at about midnight, because that's when it tends to go a bit quieter, and then the activities start to ramp up again at, you know, the classic 3 a.m. time. So I don't always wake up at that time, but if I do, I'll log on and have a quick look to see if there's anything going on. I think I'm a bit obsessed with it now. But there was this on the fence, this figure, and it looked like it had got flames coming from the bottom. So it looked like it had got, it sounds horrible, but it looks like its feet, its flames were coming up from the feet upwards. So, and you could clearly see its face and its body, shoulders, torso, etc. Up to its knees, I'd say, is where the flames came to. So, I'd like to say that was, you know, amazing, but nothing really amazes me anymore now. And that sounds really horrible. No, fairies, you do amaze me. I'm sorry, but I don't mean to be sounding a bit complacent, but I've seen so many just really wonderful and amazing and interesting and bonkers things. So it wasn't unexpected. Yeah, it's probably what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
And so the amazing thing that I'm picking up is these beings, they're interested, they are curious, they're not just carrying on their business as if they're in another dimension. They are actively seeking this interaction.
They know. Yeah, they know that I watch them. I'm sure of it. And like I said, there's a few beings that I've captured that look right into the camera, and then I mean, one of them's got a really cheeky grin as well when it's looking. That's the one that's got the humanoid face, and it's got like the butterfly wings that came from the roof of the cabin. So that, you know, you've got over the, just as you open the door, there's a little bit of an overhang. It came from there and went straight past the camera, which is just there, and it was going. It was a big grin as it went past. But that's the one that started off as a tiny little moth. It looked like a moth, but you know, but not a moth. It looked like a white, you know, a little bit different moth. But yeah, and then it just within a matter of split seconds, it was 10 times the size that it was to begin with, and it got a big face that was grinning at me.
Wow.
We're coming back full circle, perhaps, or we're going back to, you know, how we used to be, which was trusting our instincts and you know, believing in these things, believing in magic and believing in the supernatural, definitely, because that's how people used to live, didn't they? You know, the wise woman of the village, and making her using nature to cure illnesses as well. And we don't do that now. We just like use chemicals and, you know, lab things. And there's got to be, definitely something's happening. So I think that this is actually part of it, a very minute part of it. But absolutely, it must be.
Or it might not be anything, who knows?
Oh, well, thanks for sharing so much, Gem. It's been amazing
It's a pleasure. Yeah, thank you for coming all this way as well.
Yeah, well, I just had to come. It's like when I heard you sharing on Joe's podcast, Modern Fire Sightings, I said to Joe, I have to go to the place. I have to go to Sussex, so yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. We'll come back again.
Yeah, I will. Thank you for listening to the end of the episode. You can join me and Gem now over on YouTube for our follow-up chat. Remember to keep your heart open and to be the change. Bye for now, and see you next time.